Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister after she called my daughter a mistake? So I, at 32, Deanna, am the eldest of five siblings, and I've taken on the role of the family caretaker for as long as I can remember. I helped our parents until their passing, and frankly, it's exhausting. Dad died of brain cancer 3 years ago. I can still vividly recall the sterile smell of the hospital rooms and the sheer helplessness of watching this strong, vibrant man deteriorate over time into someone who struggled to even recognize us on the bad days. It was a slow, heartbreaking fading of a light I had relied on my entire life. Then, Mom passed peacefully overnight after a long, hard battle with breast cancer earlier this year. Fuck cancer. I mean that from the absolute bottom of my soul. So as the oldest, after the house grew painfully quiet, I just sort of became the de facto parent. I stepped into the shoes they left behind because someone had to hold the center together for the younger ones. I don't mind as I love my siblings and it's kind of my thing to big sister friends and family a lot. I'm sort of the ship's counselor, constantly navigating everyone else's emotional storms, and I financially help out my family whenever I can. I don't mind, as I work in tech, have a side gig doing art, and inherited land and money from mom and dad. All that to say it's no real loss to me to make sure my siblings are secure. A few years ago, my life took a turn I never could have anticipated. I adopted my cousin's M45 child, who I will just use her nickname, Decker, for. My baby absolutely loves kickboxing. My cousin went to prison for murdering Decker's mother in an alcohol and drug-fueled rage, which is a horrifying, deeply traumatic story that is far too long and painful to fully add here. The aftermath left a 5-year-old girl completely shattered. It was a chaotic, grueling year of mourning, drowning in endless stacks of legal paperwork and sitting through tense court hearings that drained everything out of me. But the adoption was finally finalized when Decker was 5. I can still remember the exact moment the judge signed the papers. It felt like I could finally breathe again. Now, she's a happy, healthy 13-year-old who calls me mom. She's in therapy, and has been since I legally could send her as she witnessed the horrific reality of her mother's death with her own eyes, and I couldn't be prouder of how incredibly resilient she is. She's my girl, my rock star, my whole heart, and I call her that constantly, literally, my heart. Fast forward to my sister Clara's, F30, upcoming wedding. When she first announced her engagement, I was genuinely thrilled for her. She asked me to be her maid of honor, and I broke down and cried in pure joy. I wanted to give her the world, so I offered for my wife, Honey, F40, because we like The Incredibles, LOL, and I'd pay for the entire wedding. Don't worry, I asked Honey first, and we agreed that since we had the means, we wanted Clara to have the beautiful day she deserved. It felt so good to be able to do that for her. Everything was going perfectly fine until a bachelorette dinner I spent weeks meticulously setting up. The restaurant was upscale, the drinks were flowing, and the atmosphere was loud and celebratory. We were laughing, sharing stories, and I was just sitting back taking in how happy my sister looked. But then the conversation somehow drifted to the future, and out of nowhere, Clara made a profoundly hurtful comment about my daughter, casually calling her a mistake and stating flatly that I shouldn't have taken her in. The loud chatter of the restaurant seemed to instantly mute in my ears. I just sat there, my drink half raised, and stared at her. I calmly asked her what she meant. She rolled her eyes slightly and said it wasn't like I was supposed to even have kids anyway, considering I am married to another woman, then quickly tacked on, no hate or anything, and let out this dry, uncomfortable laugh. But instead of dropping it when she saw the look on my face, she doubled down, insisting that Decker is likely permanently damaged and just a massive handful that I saddled myself with. Guys, Decker is the sweetest child alive. I mean, she is a teenager, so yeah, sometimes she can get challenging or rebellious here or there, but when I say she is my whole heart, I mean it. She made us a real family and turned our house into a home. She smiles easily, cries openly, and has the kind of profound emotional intelligence I wish I had myself. She always asks, "How are you doing?" And she really means it, always willing to truly listen to people. But to sit there and hear my own flesh and blood call her a damaged mistake. I felt like a character in a dark, twisted episode of a sci-fi show. Defending my choice to adopt my daughter felt like fighting the Borg, like I just wouldn't assimilate to their cruel reality. I didn't laugh it off with my sister and her friends. I just stared at her in pure, icy disbelief. I think she finally knew I was genuinely hurt because she quickly shifted gears and aggressively changed the subject. I didn't cause a scene. I just stood up, calmly said I'd better get home, paid for everything on the tab plus 3 more rounds of drinks for the table, and walked out into the cold night air to go home to my actual family. My sister came over to our house the very next day. She didn't come to apologize. She came to yell at me for leaving and cutting them off after the 3 rounds I paid for had run out. She stood in my hallway, arms crossed, demanding that I owe her a do-over for ruining the whole weekend simply because I apparently can't take a joke. Honey, who I had of course told everything to the second I walked through the door the night before, stepped out of the kitchen. She looked Clara dead in the eye and asked my sister to repeat exactly what she had said about our daughter. My sister immediately refused. She wouldn't look Honey in the face and just kept dismissively calling Decker Charlie's child. I stood there, my nails digging into my palms, holding back so many angry tears. I looked right at Clara and told her that I wouldn't be contributing a single dime to her wedding expenses anymore. I clarified that I won't stop helping her pay her rent up until she moves in with her husband, because I'm not going to put her out on the street, but I absolutely will not be in, nor will I pay for, the wedding of a person who sees my child as a mistake. Honestly, I was ready to go full-on Jedi and completely sever that connection right then and there, but Honey gently placed a hand on my shoulder and helped me temper myself. My sister completely lost it. Her face went red. She grabbed the full can of soda water we had offered her when she walked in and violently threw it right at me. It clattered against the wall, spraying water everywhere. She screamed at the top of her lungs, "How am I supposed to pay for this?" I kept my voice dead even and said, "You have over a year. You can save up." She stormed toward the front door, aggressively shoving Honey out of the way in the process, and slammed the door so hard the frames rattled. Within minutes, she completely blew up our sibling group chat with a skewed version of events. My other siblings are split. Some think I'm overreacting with cutting off the funds for the wedding and that I'm being financially vindictive, while others agree that my sister crossed a massive line and desperately needed this wake-up call. Now, I feel genuinely bad for my sister. I do love her, and I know she is incredibly distressed by this sudden financial burden, but I can't shake the feeling that standing up for my daughter is infinitely more important. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for her wedding after that? Edit. I've been working on my work project at a local brewery and have been silently sobbing in public while reading all the comments. Also, wow, so many comments. I was trying to reply to everyone, but I honestly just ran out of steam. I sent this post to my wife, and I am also just heavily bracing myself to talk to Decker tonight. We want to ask her if her aunt has done or said anything cruel to her or about her behind our backs. I am wishing so hard that she's just confused by our questions and remains completely oblivious of this entire shitstorm. I love my heart. I want her to always remain the bright, fun, loving, encouraging person she is. I don't want her to know anything about what her aunt has said, because words like that can break a teenager. I texted my sister asking if she meant this, if she really sees me, my wife, and our daughter that way, or was she just drunk and stupid and doubled down in embarrassment. That said, even if it was just the alcohol talking, I don't want her anywhere near Decker anytime soon. I feel so completely lost right now. I wasn't planning on ever being a parent, and there is no fucking manual for this. What the fuck do I even do? Wish me luck for tonight. I will need it, because if Decker tells us her aunt has been cruel to her face, I will have to hold my wife back from swinging on my sister. Update. Honey and I took Decker to the local Oktoberfest celebrations. She had a blast doing crafts, dancing to the music, drinking beer from a pint glass that was obviously not beer, and generally having a great time. On the ride home, my wife brought up the conversation we'd been putting off. We asked Decker how she felt about Grandma's passing and explained that everyone handles grief differently. We asked whether Mama or Mommy had ever said or done anything that hurt her. She mentioned a couple of times when we'd been snappy or wouldn't let her do something, including a party at 2 a.m., which, honestly, I think was a reasonable parenting decision. Then we asked about Clara. Decker immediately went quiet. I told her she could tell us anything and that she was safe with us, but she shut down. We got home, hugged her, and gave her some space. About 2 hours later, Honey came downstairs and told me Decker was awake and willing to talk. I went upstairs and sat beside her bed. She was already in her pajamas and reading. She looked at me and asked, "Mom told you, huh?" I told her I didn't know anything and that she could tell me whatever she wanted. That's when she finally opened up. Decker said Clara had made her uncomfortable for a long time. When Honey and I weren't around, Clara called her things like lost puppy and stray. She remembered Clara telling her directly that she wasn't real family and that once Honey and I had a real child, we'd eventually get rid of her. Then Decker started crying. She told me she'd been working so hard at school because she thought she had to prove she was worth loving and worth keeping. That destroyed me. Honey came upstairs and we both sat with her. We told her that none of this was her fault and that she never had to earn her place in our family. Even if we have more children someday, she will always be our firstborn. She is our daughter, and that isn't conditional on anything. I also told her the truth about Clara. I said Clara was wrong, and that she wouldn't be around us for a while because her actions had consequences. Decker asked me not to talk to her like a little kid, so I was blunt. I told her Clara is my sister and I love her, but Decker is my daughter and I love her more. I told her that loving someone doesn't mean allowing them to hurt your family. Then Decker handed me her phone. Clara had been texting her after leaving our house. Some of the messages were horrible, but one that really got me was Clara telling her, "Go tell your so-called mom like a snitch and prove me right." I took screenshots and saved everything. After Decker fell asleep around midnight, Honey and I went to bed. I sent Clara the screenshot and told her she was no longer welcome in our home and was not to contact me, Honey, or Decker. I reminded her that Mom and Dad would be ashamed of how she treated a child, especially her own niece. I told her I'd give her the money for October, but starting in November, her rent and wedding expenses were her responsibility. I was done financially supporting her. I also made it clear that if she contacted Decker again or came after my family, I would consider legal action. I love my sister, and this absolutely breaks my heart. But Decker is my daughter. I am her mom, and she needs to know that when something like this happens, I will choose her. From today on, we are low contact. If she tries to make this into a bigger issue, it will become no contact. Update 2. I want to clear up a few details because there seems to be some confusion. I am the eldest of 5 siblings, and I was already handling most of my parents' finances, properties, and affairs before they died. I also did most of the caretaking during their illnesses. Growing up, I was left in charge of my siblings a lot because our parents were constantly working, so yes, I cooked, helped with homework, and generally looked after them. It wasn't ideal, but I don't hate my parents for it. My siblings felt safe with me, and that matters to me. I am also in therapy. My parents were difficult near the end. Dad became verbally abusive, Mom was severely depressed, and my siblings eventually stopped wanting to be around them. I was the one who stayed. Dad changed his will, and Mom followed suit. I inherited most of their estate, while my siblings received sizable amounts, trusts, and, in 3 cases, ownership of businesses. As for Clara's October rent, that wasn't some reward. The payment had already been scheduled through automatic banking, and her rent was due that day. She is staying housed for October. After that, she's responsible for herself. Clara and I used to be close, but she became distant after I adopted Decker. Clara hates Charlie and considers him completely irredeemable because of what happened to Decker's biological mother, who Clara was very close to. After Mom died, Clara had a mental health crisis and spent her inheritance traveling, drinking, and gambling. That's another mess entirely. I also found out Clara has been telling people that I'm jealous of her relationship and that I'm withholding our parents' money from her. Worse, she was telling people that I was abusing Decker and telling her she wasn't my real daughter. That story fell apart after I sent Clara the screenshots and evidence from the previous incident. Yesterday, Clara showed up at my house. She was crying and begging me to let her inside. I refused. Honey and some friends were inside, and I had already told Clara she was not welcome around my family. I told her to leave, or I would call the police. She begged to apologize to Decker and blamed everything on being drunk and upset. She was clearly intoxicated, although I couldn't tell whether it was alcohol or something else. I told her this wasn't some harmless mistake. She had bullied a traumatized teenager, made her feel unwanted by her own family, and then continued sending cruel messages after being confronted. I lost my temper and started yelling. I told her she needed serious help, and that I was done being the person who constantly rescued everyone while they hurt my family. Clara slapped me. She called me a bitch and a traitor and said I had chosen that demon spawn over my real family. She said I loved Decker more than my own family and had abandoned her. Honey must have been right by the door because she pulled me inside before I could do something stupid. She told Clara she had 60 seconds to leave, then slammed the door. Clara left, but we still called the police. We provided the property camera footage, the texts, and everything else we had. Afterward, Clara continued sending horrible messages, including one where she said she hoped I took my own life and that she'd celebrate. I blocked her, uploaded the evidence to a Google Drive, and sent it to the sibling group chat and to Kevin, her fiancé. After Decker came home from practice, I put on my mom face, helped her with her homework, and made sure she had a normal evening. Later, I called my aunt, who is Decker's biological grandmother, and told her what happened. My aunt said Clara has been repeating her claims that I am harming Decker and thinks Clara may be having some kind of mental break. She warned me to be careful because she was worried Clara might do something reckless. Honey and I spent the day working on a protective order, notifying Decker's school that nobody except us is allowed to pick her up, and looking for a lawyer. I also asked my eldest brother to check on Clara because, despite everything she has done, I don't want her hurting herself. He basically asked if I couldn't handle it myself and said he was too busy for the drama. My other sister is helping me now, and my other brother agreed to check on Clara, although he made it clear he isn't interested in doing anything beyond making sure she hasn't hurt herself. Kevin called after seeing the evidence. He begged me not to press charges and explained that Clara has been drinking heavily, stealing his medications, and that he's been trying to get her help. He said he was already struggling to keep her from spiraling and couldn't afford bail or legal help if she was arrested. I told him the police had already been called and that he needed to get her professional help. He asked whether we'd help pay for a facility he had found. I told him the only thing I could offer was for him to keep Clara away from me, Honey, and Decker. He started crying and told me I was an awful sister because I didn't care about Clara or what she was going through. I didn't argue with him. I've spent most of my life being the person everyone calls when something goes wrong. Now my daughter has been hurt, my wife was dragged into this, my sister is spiraling, and even my siblings seem to expect me to somehow fix everything. I don't know how to do that anymore. I was supposed to look after them all, and now Clara is hellbent on burning my life down while my brother seems completely indifferent to it. I am used to being the one who holds the family together and handles things, but I don't feel like I can handle anything anymore. Update 3. We went no contact with my entire side of the family about a month and a half ago, apart from my other sister, who is not Clara. A lot has happened since the last update, and honestly, I think I just need to write it all down. Decker has continued therapy, and Honey and I have both been going individually as well. We're also doing couples therapy every other week. It has helped, but it has also forced me to confront things about myself that I spent years ignoring. I didn't realize how much what my uncle did to me affected me. The abuse itself wasn't something I thought about often anymore, but the way my mother handled it clearly shaped me. She expected me to forgive him, be polite, and never cause problems when he was around. As the oldest, I learned very early to swallow my anger and move on. This situation with Clara brought all of that back. Honey pointed out that I struggle to express anger or even tell people when they've crossed a line. I shut down, deflect, or try to make things easier for everyone else. That became a real problem between us because Honey was dealing with her own feelings while I was pretending I could handle everything. Clara was arrested for assaulting me. Instead of receiving a conviction, she spent about a month in a mental health program, so as far as I understand, that assault isn't on her record as a conviction. She has since been released. She's also tried almost every possible way to contact me. New phone numbers, emails, Facebook, TikTok, letters in the mail. I've blocked everything. I hate doing it because cutting off my family has been incredibly lonely, but I can't risk bringing that chaos back into our home. Honey seems much happier now. She's dancing around the kitchen again, she's more affectionate with me, and she's excited to go out and do things. Decker is happier too. We've taken some pressure off her grades and focused more on the qualities that actually matter to us, like her kindness and determination. She's also been opening up more. She's talking about friends, crushes, and all the complicated little details of being a teenager. It's honestly really cute. I'm still struggling, but Honey and Decker are safe and happy, and that's what matters. Then Kevin contacted me 2 days ago. Clara has been out for about a week and is still doing outpatient treatment. Kevin said she's not doing well and has started talking about self-harm. He also told me something I wasn't expecting. Clara confided in him that the same uncle who abused me also abused her. Kevin is begging me to speak to her. He keeps reminding me how close Clara and I used to be and how much she needs family right now. But the more I learn, the more I question whether our relationship was ever as healthy as I believed. I spent years protecting Clara, covering for her and making excuses for her behavior. I was the enabling older sister, and she learned that I would always be there to clean up the mess. Honey and I talked about it, and she agrees that I need to maintain no contact. I've blocked Kevin as well, and am getting any information through my other sister instead. I feel guilty. I don't want Clara to suffer, and I genuinely hope she gets the help she needs. But I cannot open that door again and risk Decker or Honey's safety. I think what hurts most is how alone I feel now. I know I can't have Clara in my life anymore. I know why I made that decision. It just hurts. Update 4. A lot has changed, but I don't have the capacity to rehash it all, so I will link my old post here. Kevin and Clara are no more. She's now back in police custody with a new pending case, but this time it's for domestic abuse. From what I understand, they had an argument that escalated, and at some point Clara grabbed a pipe or something similar. People nearby called the police, and she was arrested. Kevin initially tried to drop the charges and even asked for money to hire a lawyer to help with it. I didn't get involved. Eventually, he moved back to his hometown in another state, so as far as I know, their relationship is completely over. Decker is happy as a clam, and I don't tell her these things unless she asks. As far as she knows, Aunt Clara isn't welcome at our home anymore. Honey and I have always told her that if she has questions, she can ask us and we'll answer honestly in an age-appropriate way. She hasn't asked about Clara in a couple of months now, and I'm honestly grateful for that. She's finally able to just be a teenager without being dragged into adult problems. I still miss my family. I've been low or no contact with everyone except my other sister, and sometimes that's incredibly difficult. Toxic family dynamics don't disappear just because you finally walk away from them. I spent most of my life being the person who handled everything, so having that entire role suddenly disappear has left a strange emptiness. We're spending Easter with Honey's family this year. I genuinely like them and they've been welcoming to us, but there is still a part of me that feels sad about it. I know that sounds selfish, and honestly, maybe it is. I just wish my family had turned out differently. I wish Clara could have been the Aunt Decker deserved. I wish I could have had a normal relationship with my siblings. I wish I didn't have to explain to my daughter why certain relatives aren't around anymore. But none of those wishes change what happened. At the end of the day, Decker is my priority, and this distance is keeping her safe and happy. She's already talking about college and traveling. She'll sit with us and talk about places she wants to see, things she wants to study, and what she thinks her life might look like when she's older. I love listening to her dream about the future. She's got this spark about her now that wasn't there before, and seeing that makes everything we've gone through worth protecting. We won't have her at home forever. She's growing up far too quickly, and before I know it, she'll be off taking on the world and probably forgetting to check in with her weird mom. I'm going to enjoy every minute I get before that happens. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update.